He walked the same streets every day, carrying packages that were never meant to be heavy, yet somehow always were. People noticed the box before they noticed the man holding it. In most days they notice neither. His name was Elias, though very few ever used it. To most people, he was just a delivery guy. The sound of footsteps on concrete, the knock before the door closed again. He existed in moments so brief that no one thought to remember him. Elias learned early that invisibility had rules. Speak less, smile softly, move on quickly. When you follow those rules long enough, people forget you're there. He delivered 2 apartment buildings, offices, quiet homes, with trimmed lawns and loud secrets. Some doors opened with warmth, most with indifference. All of them opened just long enough for him to see more than he was supposed to. He saw couples arguing through half-open doors, their voices sharp before softening at his presence. He saw children answer doors, meant for adults, holding boxers heavier than their arms. He saw fear hidden behind polite smiles, and relief masked as impatience. Elias never listened on purpose. He never stopped walking, never leaned closer. But when you are ignored, people forget to be careful. There was one building he visited every afternoon, a place where the air always felt tense. The 3rd-floor apartment stood out, not because of noise, but because of silence. Silence, Elias had learned, was often louder than shouting. The woman there always avoided eye contact. Her hands shook when she signed, and her voice stayed low, even when she spoke. Elias noticed the bruises she tried to hide, though he never mentioned them. One evening, the door opened late. Slower than usual, a man's voice came from inside, sharp and angry, cutting the air like glass. The door closed quickly, leaving Elias standing in the hallway with a package still warm from his hands. He paused that day longer than usual. He considered telling someone, anyone, what he had seen and heard. But experience reminded him that people like him were rarely believed. The next week, police cars flooded the street. Neighbors gathered, whispering words like accident and tragedy. An ambulance arrived too late to help. The woman from the 3rd floor was dead. The official story came quickly, neat and convenient. Most people accepted it without question, but Elias didn't. He remembered the shaking hands, the lowered eyes, the silence that pressed down like weight. And he remembered the man's voice, angry and close, the night before everything ended. When investigators questioned the building, Elias waited his turn. He stood quietly, holding his cap, rehearsing words he wasn't sure would matter. When he finally spoke, they barely looked up. They asked him what he did for work. When he answered, their attention faded. Notes were written, but not with interest. They thanked him politely and moved on. Elias stood there for a moment longer, then stepped aside as if he had never spoken at all. In that moment he felt smaller than he ever had. Days passed, and an innocent neighbor was quietly blamed. Rumors spread faster than facts, as they always do. Elias watched a good man become a suspect simply because he was visible and convenient. Elias tried again. He returned to the station, repeating details, explaining timing, describing the voice he recognized. The officer listened this time, but only halfway. "Are you sure?" the officer asked. "It's easy to confuse things." Elias nodded, not because he was unsure, but because he was tired. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about the woman, about silence, about what happens when truth waits too long. He realized that being invisible didn't excuse him from responsibility. The next morning, Elias returned with something different. He brought timestamps, delivery logs, and routes that showed where he had been and when. Facts were harder to ignore than feelings. This time, someone listened fully. The timeline didn't match the official story. The details didn't line up the way they were supposed to. Security footage was reviewed again. A door opened longer than reported. A voice matched Elias's description, sharp and unmistakable. Slowly, the truth surfaced. Not loudly, not dramatically. Who steadily like light entering a room that had been closed for too long. The real culprit was confronted. The story unraveled under pressure. What had been hidden behind silence finally spoke. The innocent neighbor was cleared. Apologies were offered, though they came late. Justice arrived quietly, the way it often does when it is real. No one celebrated. There were no speeches, No headlines, just a sense that something heavy had finally been put down. The neighborhood looked at Elias differently after that. They greeted him by name now. Some even asked how he was doing. Elias accepted the change with the same calm he always carried. He didn't feel proud, and he didn't feel bitter. He simply felt resolved. He kept delivering packages. He kept walking the same streets. The only difference was that now, people noticed him. But Elias knew the truth. He had always been there. They had just never really seen him. Invisible people see everything, because they are never busy being seen.